Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. It started on a Thursday evening in our Lincoln Park condo, the kind of ordinary moment that changes everything. I had just come back from Whole Foods on Halsted, arms loaded with grocery bags, when I found her at the dining table with her laptop open, still in her work clothes at 8 o'clock. The blue light from the screen cast shadows across her face as she typed furiously, barely acknowledging my entrance. I set the bags on the kitchen counter and started unpacking, the familiar rhythm of putting things away, almost meditative. Milk in the fridge, bread on the counter, vegetables in the crisper. I'd stopped at the store because I noticed we were running low on everything, the way I always notice these things. Someone had to. "Hey," I called out as I folded the reusable bags. "I need to talk to you about our anniversary dinner next week. The restaurant needs a deposit to hold the reservation." She didn't look up. "Okay. I need your card. I figured we'd split it. Can you just handle it?" Her fingers never stopped moving across the keyboard. "I'm in the middle of something." I stood there holding a bag of apples, feeling something twist in my chest. "I've been handling everything lately. The groceries, the bills, scheduling the plumber last week. I just need you to be present for this one thing." That's when she stopped typing. Her hands went still, and she slowly closed the laptop. When she looked at me, her expression was sharp, almost defiant. "Stop treating me like a child. I don't need you managing my life." The words hung in the air between us like a slap. I stood there, grocery bag still in hand, trying to process what had just happened. A child? That's what she thought I was doing. "I'm not." I started, but she was already opening her laptop again, dismissing me. I finished unpacking in silence, each item placed with careful precision as my mind raced. I thought about the dry cleaning I'd picked up for her last Friday, the reminder I'd set on my phone for her dentist appointment, the fact that I'd been the one to notice her car inspection was due. All the small, invisible things I did to keep our lives running smoothly. Was that treating her like a child? Or was that being a partner? That night, I lay awake long after she'd fallen asleep beside me, her breathing deep and even. The accusation replayed in my mind on an endless loop. Stop treating me like a child. The more I thought about it, the more something cold and resolute settled in my chest. Fine. If managing her life made me some kind of oppressive force, then I'd stop. Completely. I'd give her exactly what she asked for, total independence from my interference. Let her see what it felt like to handle everything on her own. By the time the sun started filtering through our bedroom curtains, I had made my decision. I wasn't angry, not exactly. I was clear. If she didn't want to be taken care of, I wouldn't take care of her. Simple as that. Friday morning, I woke up and went through my routine with one significant change. I made 1 cup of coffee instead of 2. I'd been making both of our coffees every morning for 3 years, adding the exact amount of cream and sugar she liked without even thinking about it. This morning, I made mine, poured it into my travel mug, and sat at the kitchen table with my phone. She emerged from the bedroom 20 minutes later, still in her pajamas, and headed straight for the coffee maker. I watched over the rim of my mug as she stopped, looking at the empty carafe with confusion. She glanced at me, then at my coffee, then back at the empty pot. "No coffee this morning?" she asked. "I made mine," I said, not looking up from my phone. She stood there for a moment, waiting for an explanation that didn't come, then turned and started making her own. The silence felt thick, but I didn't break it. This was day 1. At work, I went through the motions of my job at the marketing firm, sitting through meetings and reviewing campaign materials, but my mind was elsewhere. I thought about the dry cleaning that needed to be picked up today. I'd been doing it every Friday for months. Not anymore. She could figure it out herself. When I got home that evening, she was already there, back at her laptop in the same spot. I noticed she was still in her work clothes. "How was your day?" she asked absently. "Fine. Yours?" "Busy. Hey, what do you want to do for dinner?" Before, I would have already been thinking about what we had in the fridge, what I could throw together, or which restaurant we could order from. "Whatever you want to do," I said. She looked up, a slight crease forming between her eyebrows. "I don't know. What are you feeling?" "I'm easy. You decide." Another pause. "Okay. I guess I'll figure something out." I went to the bedroom and changed into comfortable clothes, then grabbed a book I'd been meaning to read. "I'm going to head out for a bit," I called to her. "Where?" "Just out." I walked to Oz Park, found a bench under a tree, and sat there reading as the evening light faded. It felt strange, this deliberate absence. Normally on a Friday evening, we'd be cooking together or ordering takeout, talking about our weeks, planning the weekend. Instead, I was sitting alone on a park bench, and she was home wondering what to do about dinner. When I came back 2 hours later, she was eating Thai food from takeout containers, still at her laptop. She barely looked up when I walked in. Saturday morning brought our first real friction point. I did my laundry, throwing my clothes into the washer without adding hers from the basket in the bedroom. When the cycle finished, I moved everything to the dryer and went about my day. She had brunch plans with her sister. Usually, I'd go with her, make small talk, play the supportive partner. This time, when she mentioned it at breakfast, I just nodded. "You're not coming?" she asked. I wasn't planning on it. "Oh, okay." She looked uncertain, like she wanted to ask why, but wasn't sure if she should. "I'll be back around 2." After she left, I went back to Oz Park with my book. The weather was perfect, one of those crisp Chicago autumn days where the leaves were just starting to turn. I found my bench and settled in, feeling a strange sense of peace mixed with an undercurrent of guilt I was trying to ignore. She texted me around 1:30. "Where are you?" "Out," I replied. "Out where?" "Oz Park." "Oh, didn't know you were going out." I stared at the message for a moment before typing back. Didn't think I needed permission. She didn't respond to that. When she came home and found me reading in the living room, there was a new tension in her movements. She walked past me without speaking, went to the bedroom, and I heard her moving around. After a few minutes, she emerged. "Did you do laundry today?" "Yeah." "Just yours?" "Yeah." She stood there, arms crossed. "Okay, that's fine. I guess I'll do mine." "Sounds good." I could feel her staring at me, could sense the questions building behind her eyes, but I kept my gaze on my book. After a moment, she turned and went back to the bedroom. Sunday morning, my phone pinged with a reminder. "Anniversary dinner reservation, confirmed today." I swiped it away and went back to sleep. By Sunday afternoon, the question finally came. We were both in the living room, her with her laptop, me with my book, when she said, "Did you confirm the reservation for Friday?" I looked up. "No." "No? Why not?" "I thought you'd want to handle it." Her expression shifted, confusion giving way to something sharper. "You always handle reservations." "Well, I always handled a lot of things. But you made it clear you don't need me managing your life, so I'm respecting that." "That's not." She stopped, pressing her lips together. "Fine. I'll call them tomorrow." "Great." The silence that followed felt like a living thing, pulsing between us with its own heartbeat. She closed her laptop with more force than necessary and left the room. I heard the bedroom door close. Not a slam, but close. Monday morning marked a turning point. I made my coffee and left for work without our usual have a good day exchange. She was still in the shower when I walked out the door. It felt wrong, this deliberate withholding of small affections, but I pushed the feeling down. This was what she wanted, wasn't it? Independence. At lunch, I met my best friend at Portillo's on Clark Street. We sat in a booth with Italian beefs in front of us, and he studied me with the kind of concern that comes from years of friendship. "You okay, man? You seem off." I took a bite of my sandwich, considering how much to tell him. "Things are tense at home." "Yeah? What's going on?" I explained the situation, trying to keep my voice neutral, factual. His expression grew more troubled as I talked. "So you're just, what? Checking out?" "I'm not checking out. I'm giving her the independence she asked for." He set down his sandwich. "Man, I get that you're hurt, but this seems extreme. You're both miserable." "I'm making a point." "At what cost?" I didn't have an answer for that. We finished our lunch with the question hanging between us, and I went back to work feeling less certain than I had that morning. That evening, Tuesday, I came home to find her on the phone in the bedroom, her voice tight with stress. I stood in the hallway, not quite eavesdropping but not walking away either. "I don't know what happened," she was saying. "I completely forgot about the filing deadline. I've never done that before." A pause. "Yes, I understand how serious this is. I'll have it ready first thing tomorrow." When she emerged from the bedroom 10 minutes later, her eyes were red. She saw me standing there and quickly turned away, heading to the bathroom. I almost followed her, almost asked what was wrong, almost fell back into the familiar pattern of being her support system. Instead, I went to the kitchen and made myself dinner. Wednesday brought the financial reality crashing down. I checked our joint account and saw we were close to overdraft. I transferred enough to cover my half of the rent and my portion of the shared bills, but nothing extra. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a text from her. "Did you see the account?" "Yes. I handled my half." Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Are you serious right now?" Completely. She came home early that day, bursting through the door with a storm cloud of fury around her. I was in the kitchen, making dinner, for one. "Are you serious right now?" she demanded, echoing her text. I looked up from the stove. "About what?" "About all of this. The money, the dinner, the coffee, everything. You're acting like a child." "I thought I was the one treating you like a child." "I'm just correcting that." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." I turned off the stove and faced her fully. "Then what did you mean?" "Because I'm genuinely confused. You said to stop managing your life, so I stopped. You said to stop treating you like a child, so I'm treating you like the independent adult you claimed you wanted to be. I didn't ask you to abandon me completely." "Abandon? I'm right here. I'm just not carrying both of us anymore." Her face flushed red. "You're being deliberately obtuse. A partnership doesn't mean one person does everything or nothing. There's a middle ground." "And where was that middle ground when I was handling everything? Where was it when I asked you to just split a restaurant deposit and you accused me of managing your life?" She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I was stressed. I shouldn't have said it like that." "But you meant it." "I meant I felt overwhelmed. I meant I needed space to breathe. I didn't mean I wanted you to stop being my partner." "Could have fooled me." She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something crack in her expression. Then she turned and walked to the bedroom. The door closed with a sharp click. I stood in the kitchen, my dinner cooling on the stove, feeling hollow. This wasn't satisfaction I felt watching her struggle. It was something much worse, the realization that I was hurting someone I loved to prove a point. But I wasn't ready to stop yet. Thursday evening, my phone rang. Her mother. "Hi, honey," she said warmly. "I'm trying to reach my daughter, but she's not picking up. Can you have her call me about Sunday dinner?" Before, I would have taken the message, made sure to remind her, probably even confirmed our attendance. "You should call her directly," I said. "I'm sure she'll pick up if you try again." There was a pause. "Is everything all right? You sound strange." "Everything's fine. She's just been busy with work." "All right. Well, tell her to call me when you see her." "I'll mention it if it comes up." Another pause, longer this time. "Okay. Take care, sweetheart." When she came home an hour later, I mentioned her mother called. "She wants you to call her about Sunday dinner." "Sunday dinner?" "Something about it. I don't know the details." She looked at me strangely. "You didn't ask?" Wasn't my call to take. Friday arrived with its own special tension. It was supposed to be our anniversary dinner, the reservation she'd promised to make. I came home from work, changed into jeans and a comfortable shirt, and made myself a simple dinner of pasta and salad. I was eating at the dining table when she burst through the door at 7:30. "I thought we'd be leaving for dinner," she said, still in her work clothes, looking frazzled. I set down my fork. "Did you make a reservation?" I've been so swamped at work, I forgot to call. But we can find somewhere. It's Friday night, plenty of places." "In Lincoln Park? On a Friday at 7:30? She pulled out her phone, frantically scrolling through Open Table. I watched her face fall as she went through option after option, everything showing no availability or only 10 p.m. available. "This is our anniversary," she said quietly, still staring at her phone. "I know. You could have made the reservation. You said you'd handle it. I trusted you to handle it." She looked up at me then, and I saw something break behind her eyes. "You wanted this to happen. You wanted me to fail." "No. I wanted you to understand what it means when you say you don't need me managing your life. This is what that looks like. Things fall through the cracks when only one person is paying attention, and then that person stops." She stood there in the entryway, her bag sliding off her shoulder onto the floor, and I saw her chin tremble. "I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took this for you to notice what I was doing." She picked up her bag and walked to the bedroom without another word. I heard the shower turn on, and I sat alone at the table, my appetite gone, staring at my half-eaten pasta and wondering when exactly I'd become someone who would weaponize an anniversary. Saturday morning was quiet. We moved around each other like ghosts. each going through the motions of weekend routines that used to be shared but now felt fractured. She made coffee, I made breakfast, only for myself. She did her laundry, I cleaned only my spaces. We were two people occupying the same square footage but living entirely separate lives. Her sister's birthday party was Sunday afternoon. I knew this because I'd bought the gift weeks ago. It was sitting in my closet, wrapped and ready. Or it used to be. This time, I'd bought nothing. Sunday morning, I watched her scramble around the apartment, clearly trying to figure out what to get. "Did you pick up anything for her?" she finally asked. "No." "Why not? You always get gifts for my family stuff." "You always got the gifts. I always bought them. But I always treated you like a child, remember? Adults buy their own gifts." She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "This is really how you want to do this? Sabotage my sister's birthday?" "I'm not sabotaging anything. You're perfectly capable of getting a gift." She grabbed her keys and left without another word. I watched from the window as she got in her car and drove away, presumably to find some last-minute gift shop open on a Sunday morning. I drove separately to her sister's house in Lincoln Park, arriving 15 minutes after her. The house was full of family and friends, the warmth and laughter a stark contrast to the Cold War we'd been waging at home. I saw her standing in the corner with a generic Walgreens gift bag, and the shame on her face when her sister opened it. A Visa gift card in a standard envelope made my stomach turn. Her mother found me in the kitchen. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" We stepped out onto the back porch. She looked at me with concern, the kind of maternal worry that sees through all pretense. "Is she okay? She seems so scattered lately." "That's not like her." I chose my words carefully. "She's managing things herself now, learning to handle everything independently." Her mother's eyes narrowed slightly. "That's an odd way to put it. Did something happen between you two?" "We're just figuring some things out." She reached out and squeezed my arm. "Marriage is work. Don't forget that you're on the same team." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak, and she went back inside. Through the window, I could see her daughter talking with her sister, forcing smiles that didn't reach her eyes. I'd done this. I'd turned our anniversary into a missed opportunity and her sister's birthday into an embarrassment, all to prove a point. The drive home was separate again. I took Fullerton, past all the restaurants and cafes where we used to go on dates, each one a reminder of what we were losing. When had this stopped being about fairness and started being about punishment? I got home first. When she walked in 20 minutes later, she looked exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. She dropped her bag on the couch and stood in the middle of the living room, arms hanging at her sides. "We need to talk." I nodded. "Okay." She sat down on the couch, and I took the armchair across from her. The distance between us felt insurmountable. "This has to stop," she said. "What you're doing. It's not making a point. It's just cruel." "Cruel? I'm giving you what you asked for. Independence. I asked you to stop hovering, not to abandon me completely." "Hovering?" My voice rose despite my intention to stay calm. "Is that what you call it when I coordinate our entire lives? When I'm the one who remembers every birthday, every bill, every appointment, every detail that keeps our household running?" "I never asked you to do all that. You just took over everything and then acted like I owed you something for it." I stood up, pacing now. "I didn't act like you owed me. I just wanted to be seen. Do you have any idea how invisible I felt? How it felt to put in all that effort and have it treated like it was nothing? Like it was just expected background noise in your life? Invisible? You're everywhere. Every decision, every plan, every detail. You had an opinion on all of it. I couldn't breathe without you having already thought about how I should do it. Because you never wanted to make decisions. You were always too busy or too tired or couldn't think about it right now. So I stepped up. I handled it. I made sure our lives didn't fall apart. And the one time I asked you to be present for something, you accused me of treating you like a child." She stood up too, facing me across the coffee table. "I have a demanding job. I'm sorry I don't have the energy to coordinate every aspect of our lives after billing 60 hours a week." "So do I. I work too. But somehow I still found the time to be a partner, to think about someone other than myself, to notice when things needed to be done." "What do you want from me? An apology for having a career? For not being perfect? I want you to acknowledge that I've been carrying us, both of us, for years. And when I tried to talk about feeling overwhelmed, you shut me down. When I asked for help, you called it managing you. So fine, I stopped managing. This is what you wanted. My voice had risen to a shout, and in the silence that followed, I could hear both of us breathing hard. She sank back onto the couch, and I saw her eyes fill with tears. I didn't know, she said, her voice cracking. I didn't know it felt like that for you. How could you not know? You lived here too. You saw me doing everything. I thought you liked taking care of things. You never complained. You just did it all so efficiently that I thought it was easy for you. It wasn't easy. It was exhausting. And feeling invisible while doing it was even worse. She put her face in her hands, and I heard her start to cry. Real, broken sobs that shook her shoulders. I stood there, torn between the urge to comfort her and the wall I'd built between us over the past 2 weeks. I'm sorry, she said through her tears. I'm so sorry. I took you for granted. I got so wrapped up in work and my own stress that I stopped seeing what you were doing. I stopped appreciating you. I sat down heavily in the armchair, suddenly drained. I'm sorry too. For this. For making you fail just to prove a point. That wasn't fair. So what happens now? She asked, looking up at me with red, swollen eyes. We just, what? Live like roommates who hate each other? I don't hate you, I said quietly. I'm just tired of being taken for granted. We sat there as the sun set through the windows, two people who'd forgotten how to be a team, both wondering if we'd broken something that couldn't be fixed. Monday started with a lunch conversation I didn't want to have. My friend looked at me across our booth at Portillo's and shook his head. Man, you both look miserable. I ran into her at Starbucks this morning. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I haven't been sleeping great either. Then what's the point? You're proving something, sure, but at what cost? I pushed my food around my plate. I needed her to understand. And does she? I think so. But now we're just stuck. I don't know how to get back from this. Start small. Make coffee for both of you tomorrow. See what happens. Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a woman's professional voice said, I'm calling from her firm. She listed you as an emergency contact. She's been taken to Northwestern Memorial. She collapsed at the office. My heart stopped. Is she okay? She's stable. The doctor thinks it's exhaustion and stress. You should come down. I left work immediately, my hands shaking as I drove to the hospital. All of my righteous anger, all of my carefully constructed lessons, evaporated in the face of real fear. When I found her room, she was lying in the hospital bed hooked up to an IV, her eyes closed. A doctor was making notes on a tablet. Are you her husband? The doctor asked. Yes. What happened? Extreme exhaustion, dehydration, and what appears to be a severe anxiety response. When did you last notice her eating properly or sleeping through the night? I couldn't answer. I'd been so busy withdrawing support that I hadn't noticed her falling apart. The doctor gave me a concerned look and left us alone. Her eyes opened, and when she saw me, fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I pulled a chair close to the bed and took her hand. No, I'm sorry. This is my fault. I was so focused on making a point that I didn't see you were drowning. I missed a major filing deadline at work, she said, her voice hoarse. They put me on formal review. My senior partner is furious. And I couldn't focus, couldn't sleep, couldn't do anything right because everything at home was falling apart and I didn't know how to fix it. I should have. No, you were right. I took you for granted. I got so comfortable with you handling everything that I forgot how to be a functioning adult. And when you stopped, I fell apart. She squeezed my hand weakly. But I can't do this. I can't work 60 hours and manage a household and remember every detail and coordinate everything. I can't be you. I never asked you to be me. Didn't you? Isn't that what this whole thing was about? Proving you were essential? Showing me I couldn't function without you? I sat back, the truth of her words hitting hard. Maybe I needed you to see how much I do. But watching you fall apart isn't what I wanted. This, you in a hospital bed, this is the last thing I wanted. What did you want? I wanted you to appreciate me, to see me as a partner, not a service provider, to notice when I was struggling instead of assuming everything was fine because I made it look easy. I do see you. I didn't show it enough, didn't say it enough, but I see you. And I need you, not to do everything for me, but to do life with me. I felt my own eyes burning with tears. I need that too. I need to know that what I do matters, that I'm not invisible. You're not invisible. You're the most visible thing in my life. I just forgot to tell you that. We sat in that hospital room for hours, talking through everything we should have said months ago. The hurt, the resentment, the fear of being unappreciated or controlled. By the time they discharged her that evening, we hadn't fixed everything, but we'd started. The next few days were different. Wednesday morning, I made 2 cups of coffee. She came into the kitchen and saw both mugs sitting on the counter, and her eyes filled with tears again. "Thank you," she said, and I heard the weight of everything in those 2 words. We started cleaning together that evening. The apartment had descended into chaos over the past 2 weeks. Dishes piled in the sink, laundry overflowing baskets, mail stacked on every surface, dust gathering in corners. Neither of us had maintained anything, too locked in our standoff to care about the physical space. We worked in silence at first, each taking a task. Then slowly, tentatively, we started talking. Small things at first, what needed to be cleaned, what could wait. Then bigger things. She told me about the pressure at work, the cases piling up, the fear of losing her job. I told her about feeling invisible, about the weight of invisible labor, about needing to be seen. "I want to do things differently," she said as we folded laundry together. "I can't go back to how things were. But this, what we've been doing, isn't working either." "I know. I don't want to go back either. But I don't want to live in this Cold War. What if we actually talked about who does what, instead of assuming or defaulting to old patterns?" "You mean like a plan? Like a partnership? Real partnership, where we both know what we're responsible for and we both show up." We spent that evening making a list. Not a chore chart like roommates, but a genuine conversation about capacity, strengths, and responsibilities. She was better with finances. She'd handle the bills and budget. I was better at social coordination. I'd manage the calendar and family obligations. We'd trade off on cooking. We'd both do our own laundry. We'd have weekly check-ins to talk about what was working and what wasn't. It felt mechanical, maybe even unromantic, but it also felt honest. Like we were building something intentional instead of falling into old patterns. Friday evening, 1 week after our anniversary that never happened, she came into the living room where I was reading. "I made us a reservation," she said, "for next Friday. That place on Armitage you mentioned months ago." I looked up, surprised. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to. It's not about having to. It's about wanting to show up for us." The following Friday, we sat across from each other at a small table in a restaurant we'd never been to, starting over in small ways. The conversation was still careful, still tender in the places we'd bruised each other, but it was real. "I'm still learning," she said over dessert. "I'm going to forget things. I'm going to fall back into old patterns sometimes." "Me too. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to feel invisible sometimes, even when I'm not." So we talk about it. Before it builds up. Before it becomes a weapon. Before it becomes a weapon, I agreed. 2 weeks later, on a Sunday morning, we walked through Oz Park together. The leaves had fully turned now, gold and red and orange, crunching under our feet. We each had a coffee, walking in comfortable silence that felt different from the tense silences of before. She reached for my hand. "I'm glad we didn't give up." "Me too. It's still hard sometimes. Remembering to check in, to notice, to appreciate out loud instead of just in my head." "I know. It's hard for me too. Asking for help instead of just doing everything myself. Trusting that you'll follow through. But we're trying. We're trying." We found a bench, the same one I'd sat on alone weeks ago, and sat down together this time. Families played in the distance, dogs ran through fallen leaves, and the city moved around us in its familiar rhythm. "I made us a calendar for this week," she said, pulling out her phone. "Color-coded. Blue for my stuff, green for yours, purple for things we do together." I looked at the screen. It was meticulous, detailed, exactly the kind of thing I would have made. "You did this." "I did. I know it seems like overkill, but I wanted to show you I'm serious. About being a partner. About showing up." I pulled her close, kissing her temple. "It's not overkill. It's perfect. I also set a reminder to tell you I appreciate you. Every day at 7 p.m. I laughed. "You don't need a reminder for that." "Maybe not, but I want to make sure I do it. I don't want to forget again." We sat there for a while longer, watching the world go by, 2 people learning to be partners instead of property or project managers. The path ahead wasn't perfectly clear, We'd still have hard days, still fall back into old patterns, still hurt each other in the ways that people who love each other sometimes do. But we were walking it together now. Not perfectly, not without effort, but together. As we stood to leave, she squeezed my hand. Thank you for making coffee this morning. Thank you for making the calendar. See, we're getting better at this. We walked home through the autumn afternoon, past the restaurants and shops, and all the familiar landmarks of our neighborhood. The condo we returned to was clean now, organized, a physical space that reflected our internal work. It wasn't the same as it had been before. We'd never go back to those old patterns, but it was ours again. That evening, as we made dinner together, her chopping vegetables while I prepared the sauce, her phone alarm went off. She looked at it and smiled. What? I asked. 7 p.m. Time to tell you I appreciate you. The reminder? The reminder. But I mean it without the reminder too. She set down her knife and turned to face me. I appreciate you. I see you. I see everything you do, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm sorry it took all of this for me to say it out loud. I pulled her close, holding her in our kitchen, and felt something that had been tight in my chest for months finally loosen. I appreciate you too. And I'm sorry I tried to teach you a lesson instead of just talking to you. We're both sorry. We're both learning. That's okay. We finished cooking together, ate dinner at the table we'd fought over, cleaned up side by side, and settled on the couch to watch something mindless on TV. She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder, and I felt the steady rhythm of her breathing. I love you, she said quietly. I love you too. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. We still had work to do, patterns to unlearn, new ways of being to practice. But it was honest. It was real. It was two people choosing each other, choosing to do the work, choosing to be partners in all the ways that mattered. And sometimes, that's better than perfect. The lights stayed on. The bills got paid. The calendar stayed full of color-coded appointments. We showed up for each other, imperfectly but intentionally. And in the space between independence and dependence, we found something new. We found us.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.